She got over the rope. She said, Tanya, come on. And I was like, okay. I didn't even think we could have been in jail and everything. Really.
Well, hey, all of you listeners out there, it's so good to be back. I've got my co-host. My name is Xiong, part of the Governese Webcast podcast here. I got my co-host, Crystal. Crystal, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode, 5?
Ooh, yes, we're at episode 5 already. We've had some great guests with us previously, but today we have our amazing guest here. We're going to introduce her in a second. You want to kind of give everybody a sneak peek of who she is? Just her name, a little bit about her before we officially introduce her later on?
Yes. Today we have Miss Tonya Hicks with us. She is the president and CEO of Power Solutions, Inc. Just a few tidbits about Miss Tanya. Tanya is among the 3% of female electricians in the United States.
Wow.
She is also one of the 5.2% of women-owned construction businesses in the United States. So, Tanya has a wealth of experience and knowledge and a lot of success in the government contracting space. So we have a good one. We have a good one on this. So you definitely want to watch and stay tuned. So welcome, Tanya.
All right. So we'll get a chance to really hear about her story in a little bit. But to kind of get us started here, we're going to start with some government contracting happenings, government events happening this week here. So you want to dive into that there, Crystal?
Yeah. So today, just to a little bit of sad news. One of our former VA administrators and Georgia senators, Mr. Max Cleland, passed away yesterday. He was 79 years old. Cleland is a Vietnam veteran. And during his tour, he lost 3 limbs after a live grenade was dropped by a fellow soldier. And so in just 3 years after his incident in Vietnam, he entered into the world of politics. So he didn't let what happened to him in Vietnam stop him from persevering and moving through. And so that's one thing that, with government contracting and just life in general, things are going to happen, maybe not as severe as what happened to former Senator Cleland, but things are going to happen and we have to persevere and we have to push through to get to be successful. So that's I think that's a good story to share. I want to thank, Mr. Cleland for his service. He was, I remember, him in office, and he was one of the good senators. So,
Wow. Yeah. We have a lot of heroes out there.
Yeah.
And, it's sad to see, so our condolences to his family, to all his loved ones. And really that's what government contracting is about. We face adversity all the time. Maybe you submit 20 proposals and you don't win one, and it's easy to quit. Or maybe you set up a teaming partnership with somebody and they jack you up and they don't do what they're supposed to do. And I've had a situation where, 2 small businesses came together and one company took off with the contract and didn't do any of the work, subcontracting work to the other partner that they were supposed to do. So there's got to be adversity. And so government contract is about overcoming adversity. So I'm glad that we're talking about this topic here, overcoming adversities.
Yes, and happy early Veterans Day to all of our veterans. And just the other thing that I did want to share today is just some little tidbits. I was listening in on a webinar that the SBA was hosting, and the facilitator was he's an ex contracting officer, and he shared some very good information. But just a few things that I've learned along the way, actually from you, Abe, that he shared, that I would just want to share with those that are maybe new to government contracting. I think there's some good things to know. And so one of the topics that he covered was some ways to proactively self-market your business in the federal space. And so one way he mentioned was to identify the federal buyers and get to know them. Now, if you're new to the government space, you may not know that. So that was good information. 2, identify the agency contracting procedures, and then those who are making the actual buying decisions. You want to be able to identify who those individuals are and build relationships with them. Focus on the areas in your niche, and prioritize. You got to niche it down, otherwise you're going to be all over the place trying to sell, thinking that every agency wants to buy what you sell, when in fact they may not be buying what you sell. And make contacts through small business events and networking events. One of the big things that he said was, and I like this one. We certification in the government space is one way that us small businesses get awarded contracts. But he highlighted, and he just kind of honed in on the fact that you should not. He advises you to not lead with your certifications when you are approaching federal buyers. So don't lead with, oh, I'm an 8A company, or I'm a woman-owned small business. The approach that he suggests is that you communicate what your company's values are, what your differentiators are, and talk about your past performances. And then after you communicate that information, if you want to inform them that you do have XYZ certification, then that would be a good point to do so. So any thoughts on that, Tanya?
Well, let me chime on that quickly. Leading with your certification, that's not a good pickup line, right? It reminds me, about this illustration here. If you're hanging out at a bar and you see, as a guy, you see an attractive woman, and you walk up to her, you say, and your pickup line is, "Hey, I'm good looking. You want to go on a date with me?" She's gonna throw whatever she's drinking in your face and say, "Get lost, dude." Right? So when you're leading with your 8A certification, you're leading with, "Hey, I'm a women-owned certified business. Can I do some work with your agency?" Not a good pickup line. You got to lead with your qualification. Lead with what your strengths are. Lead, say, "Hey, I'd like to get to know you some more. I've done a little research about your agency. You guys really do a lot of work in construction or IT or whatever. Can I learn a little bit more about that to see how we might be able to be a match for your agency?" So you get to know people, right? It's just building relationship. It's not about trying to get a one night stand, or it's about real relationships and adding real value to these agencies here. So very good point there.
Yes.
Tanya, you want to share anything about some of your marketing experiences in the past?
Well, I haven't done that well, I think, with marketing. I'm a specialty contractor. So when you're a specialty contractor, it's not that many of us anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And just like with one of my NACE codes with the federal government, we repair heavy equipment and those electronic filing systems. And it's not many people that do what we do. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like they find you when there's certain type of equipment that needs to be repaired, because the government had, especially on these bases and in these federal buildings, you have a lot of old stuff.
Yes.
A lot of old equipment. And, we like working on old stuff. We like, putting a Band-Aid on it or breathing life in it till they buy some new. Mm-hmm. And just everyone just doesn't specialize in that. So I think being able to differentiate yourself from other people. I'm not 8A. I haven't done the 8A. I am woman-owned certified, but I've never looked for opportunities for that. And I always lead with our past performance, mm-hmm. even in business, aside from regular. Being a woman and being a minority, that's not my value proposition.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, great point there.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about, this is the first quarter at the federal level. And so we're talking a little bit about marketing here and relationship building. Part of our Governese channel is we teach you how to speak the language of procurement or the language of government contracting. And so ultimately what we want to do is we want to teach you how to win contracts. That's really the whole purpose of this. We bring in guests, we talk about different things, but so that you can have real life lessons from real people and you can learn about how to win government contracts. So that's what Governese is about. But our word for the day is fiscal year. Since we're talking about a little bit marketing relationship, the fiscal year right now at the federal level, we just finished the fourth quarter. So we're in the middle, towards the middle of our first quarter here. So we're in November. October is the first month of the fiscal year for quarter one. We're in the second month of quarter one, and then December will end the first quarter. But this is the time where you start marketing. This is the time we start building relationship. Some contracting officers, some program managers, some customers, end users, clients, they have a little bit more downtime during this time here. There's not a lot of, they're planning for the new year. So this is a good time. So our word for the day, in terms of our Governese word for the day, is we're talking about fiscal year. So I'm going to share my screen, talk a little bit about that there for a quick second, and then we'll continue. Let me share my screen here. All right. So I'm going to talk about the fiscal year. So I'm not going to do a whole presentation about the fiscal year, but I want to just kind of highlight it a little bit, getting you guys acclimated to the different fiscal years that exist in the government market. Now, for traditional businesses, the fiscal year is January 1st to December 31st. That's I would say most of all businesses out there, we go by the calendar year. That's our fiscal year. For the federal government, their fiscal year is October 1st to September 30th. We're in the middle of our first quarter here. And then for most states, it is July 1st to June 30th. So when you think about fiscal year, you have to identify when is the time where they're buying the most. If you know that, it helps you prepare. And you want to know when they have the most time, the most flexible time to meet with you, to talk to you. At the federal level, because this is the first quarter, they're doing all the planning, they have more flex time. This is the time where they're going to have more availability to get on a Zoom call with you, do a face-to-face meeting if you're local to them. This is that time there. So now as it relates to the states, 46 states use June 30th as the end of their fiscal year. There's 4 other states that does not do that. Alabama is September 30th. They use the fiscal year of the federal government. And then Michigan uses September 30th also. New York uses March 31st. And Texas uses August 31st. So Texas is always special. So I love Texas, New York, these big states, they're always special. So they pick and choose their own little thing there. But that's their fiscal year. And during the fiscal year itself, different things happens in this here. I'll leave this chart here for you guys to kind of look at. If you want a copy of this here, go down to the area on the bottom there, shoot me an email, and I'll be more than happy to send you some of these slides here so you can kind of get more familiar with the fiscal year. But part of our Governese Webcast here is to kind of introduce you to some of these terminologies here. Now, if we look at this here, this is the fiscal year here for states, which we talked about, but let's talk about for businesses. So businesses use the natural calendar year. So 65% of publicly traded companies use the traditional calendar year. 99% of all small businesses use their calendar year. Some of them, like these companies here, we'll look at the bigger companies, they have their own fiscal year. So if you're like trying to do work for Target, trying to do work for Belk or for Kroger or Best Buy or Publix or Walmart or any of these large corporations, you got to understand their fiscal year. When is the best time to engage them for different things? If during their buying season, you just want to sell, you just want to sell to them. You're not trying to build relationship because they don't have time for that. So let's look at a few of these here. Retail stores, their fiscal year is February 1st to January 31st. Now, Krista, why do you think their fiscal year for retail organization, why do you think their fiscal year is February 1st to January 31st? Any guess? Tanya,
no.
what's your guess?
Go ahead, Tanya, because I don't know.
I mean, I would think because after they make it through the holidays, you know, if you notice, like in retail in January, they have all those their end of the year sales and all that, because their largest money making, I guess, revenue generating month is December. And so you need January in order to maybe reconcile the books and, you know.
Exactly. I think you're right on there. So the biggest the biggest volume of sales in the retail industry ends in December 31st. They may have some January 1st sales and so forth, but they don't end the fiscal year there. And the reason is what happens after all the gifts are given out. What happens to people that don't like their gifts?
They return.
Yes, they need to return all that. And so what these retail stores want to do is they don't want to show big sales and then January, everything drops, right? They want to reconcile, you used the word earlier, Tanya, that they want to reconcile all these returns and then have 1 month to get things settled down so that they can have a better reflection of what the true year is. So that's why the retails go from February 1st to January 31st instead of ending it on December 31st. Because even though December 31st is the biggest month for them, they want to reconcile January into that to capture the true market. But that's retail. Now, school systems, if you're selling to a school system, there's thousands of school systems out there, city school systems, county school systems, and private school systems. And they buy, their procurement organization, they buy from businesses, just like, you know, if you're listening to us, they buy from you. So why do you think their fiscal year is July 1st to June 30th?
It's a month before any school starts and a month after school ends.
It coincides with the school year. And so that's why they do it this way. So everybody have their own reason why they do something. I'm curious to why Texas uses what they use is August, and then New York uses March. Curious about what they do. Now resorts, if you have to guess, what's the fiscal year for resorts? Any guess?
Probably not during the summer months.
That's the business time. You're right.
Yeah, and probably to get around hurricane season too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's when things slows down a little bit. So their fiscal year is October 1st to September 30th. So they have that because your heaviest travel time, vacation time ends at the end of summer. And so October 1st begins, you know, a little bit of their slow time. And so they do it this way. So everybody have their own reason. So with that, that's a little bit about the fiscal year here. So great talking about that there. Well, let's move on to our next segment. And, you know, I want to have Crystal introduce our guest for the day here. Hey, I want to take a minute to say thank you to our sponsors of the Governese channel here. And if you're watching this here, please visit our sponsors because they make it possible for us to do the Governese channel. Our first sponsor is the Government Contractors Association. The Government Contractors Association, or GCA, is a national trade association comprised of commercial contractors, small and large companies, and government agencies, federal agencies, state agencies, local agencies, government staff, universities, nonprofits, and many other entities out there. Their vision is to create access to help small businesses to get into the government market, to open doors for commercial companies into the government marketplace, and to support government agencies in accessing more qualified contractors. Their mission is to educate, facilitate, and advocate for their members based on becoming the premier government contractor association with their 3 pillars. Learn more about the Government Contractor Association at govassociation.org, govassociation.org, govassociation.org. Our second sponsor is GovGenie. GovGenie, stop wishing, start winning. GovGenie is on a mission to democratize government contracting opportunities for small women and minority-owned businesses. Their objective is to change the disparities for small businesses in the $2 trillion government marketplace. GovGenie is like LinkedIn for government contractors. It is a social CRM unifying the fragmented government procurement lifecycle and uses AI and ML to help users to socialize, foster relationships, find bids, search for teaming partners, manage proposals, source industry events, and facilitate the capture management process. This saves you, the user, money and time with one streamlined platform versus many other disparate software out there. Learn more about GovGenie at govgenie.com. 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 And our third sponsor is the Boom Group. The Boom Group is a benefits organization. They do benefit solutions to fit your needs. The Boom Group provides fringe benefit solutions designed with the competitive government contractor in mind. They offer compliant healthcare benefits designed for contractors working under the Service Contract Act, or SCA, or Davis-Bacon Act, DBA, and state prevailing wage and local living wage laws. The Boom Group builds better fringe benefit solutions for government contractors with our 3 C's approach to benefits: compliance, competitiveness, and cost savings. Learn more about the Boom Group at www.boomgroup.com or boogroup.com. That's www.boomgroup.com.
Again, everybody, so we have with us today Ms. Tonya Hicks, who is the president and CEO of Power Solutions. As I mentioned earlier, Tanya is among the 3% of female electricians in the United States. She is also one of 5.2% of women-owned construction businesses in the United States. Tanya was recently awarded the Minority Contractors Award from the National Association of Minority Contractors, the Atlanta chapter here in Atlanta. And she is she's won a number of awards. That's just one that I'm highlighting right here today. And she could probably tell us about a lot more. And she is very active in the Atlanta business community. She is all about, sustainability. She's just a great person to know. She's done very well and is very successful in the government contracting space. So I know that you all will definitely get some good information. So I encourage you to get your pads and pens ready so that you can start taking notes. And I would like to welcome Ms. Tonya Hicks.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I looked around like I need to get a notepad. Y'all got some good information on this show. I'm gonna make sure I put this in my favorites.
Yes, please do. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe.
Right, I'm gonna promote y'all too, because this is the real information we need. Small business owners need information to help them move the needle. Yes.
And that's the purpose and goal of this webcast. Exactly.
Yeah, well, hey, Tanya, it's so great to have you here with us on the Governese Webcast podcast here. What I'm curious about is where do you hail from? Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Meridian, Mississippi.
Oh yeah, cool. Now I have no idea what Meridian is. I've been to a few cities in Mississippi, but no idea what Meridian is. Is it like, where is it?
It's the queen city of the state, and is East Central. I-20, Interstate 20 comes right through Meridian.
Okay.
So if you on I-20, you can't make it to Jackson and nowhere else unless you come through Meridian.
So I have passed Meridian. I just, is it like 2 traffic lights? I blinked and I passed it. Is that why I missed it?
I know, like I said, we are the Queen City. You got more than one light. And a lot of people, like especially in federal contracting, we have the Naval Air Base there. So all the cadets that are going to be airmen in the Navy have to come to Meridian to learn to fly. So we have the Sonny Montgomery Airport there, and that's where and there are also Marines on that base as well. I mentioned them as well. So it's a fairly large, it's a really large naval base. And so yeah, for government contracting people that are interested, there's some great people that live there. And like Crystal said, that's how I know how to cook so well.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're from Mississippi, you got to know how to throw down. So
yeah, that's right. And even I've been in some different meetings. I'm in the 2022 class of leadership Atlanta, and we were in one of our study groups, and we were talking about diversity and inclusion and culturally inviting each other to eat. And I was like, well, y'all can come, but you can't make no macaroni and cheese or potato salad. But you're welcome to come, but you can't bring. And one of the ladies, she said, well, I make an awesome macaroni and cheese, all this stuff that's out there. That's why you can't.
Right, yeah.
Right. And so I'm all for the diversity, inclusion, but it's just certain things you can't make.
Right.
Right.
Everybody can't be on macaroni and cheese and potato salad duty, period.
Period. That's why, we'll save you for the wine or the bread or something.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I grew up there. I actually went through my apprenticeship there in Meridian and I became a journeyman wireman and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I'm the first woman in that local to become a journeyman electrician, and I'm actually the first Black woman in the state of Mississippi to be in that in the union there. Well, like I like to say, one of the first few, because they haven't told me anyone that had came before me. So until then, yeah, but that ain't something people want to talk about because, even today, there's just so many first.
Mm-hmm.
Like still, you're like,
right.
Yeah, still, it's the being in this male-dominated space, like you said, only 2.9% of women of tradespeople are women. Mm-hmm. And it's like in the 28% percentile African Americans are in the skilled trades, because historically Black people, well, minorities in general and women have been systematically kept out of the higher paying trades. Mm-hmm. So that's why it was like that. So I'm happy to say that it's quickly changing, and I'm excited about it. We need more women and minorities in these skilled labor where you can make six figures or more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually working with a group of individuals now to help bridge that exact gap with getting minorities and individuals from underserved communities educated in skilled trades at technical or trade schools that are between 9 and 12 months, so that they can start making a livable wage. And if they want to continue their education, they'll have the resources available to do that and not have to go and, get amounts of debt and things of that nature just to get educated. So yeah, absolutely. That's one of the fights that I'm fighting right now and or advocating for. And so absolutely, we want to.
Thank you. And you know what? I like what you said first. It's a fight.
It is a fight.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm in a fight every day, and people like, you always seem so happy. I was like, yeah, because I'm gaining ground. Mm-hmm. And even when you don't gain ground, you gain experience. So I'm always happy because I remain teachable. Mm-hmm. I can grow, and I'm happy to connect with people that don't look like me. So, and I'm happy to connect with people that are doing the same thing I'm doing in order to enlarge my capacity.
Absolutely. So
you just kind of got to be open if you want to grow.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. I did some, a few years ago, I was doing research and putting together a program for the prison bureau. And so I was trying to help create a program called a prisoner reentry program. And what some of the research I found is that there is a tremendous amount of people that is retiring from the vocational, the high trade skills, the plumbers, the electricians, and all these very important skills that's needed in our community. And there is, so baby boomers who are in these fields are retiring. Gen X are retiring, starting to retire. And so now you have the millennials and you got Gen Z that's coming in. That's not necessarily, they were born, they're the iPhone generation, right? They're the cell phone generation. And so they want to get into technology. They want to become a software engineer. They want to be a digital animator. They want to go out there and do things tied to technology, which is very important. We need those skill sets. They're going to AI, machine learning, and robotics. But then the real skills that's needed to build our infrastructure, it's their skill sets are becoming diminished and people are leaving the industry. So you're in a very unique industry here, Tanya. What do you see the trend is happening? And are some of these, are you facing some of these here? Or are you having a hard time getting people to work, hiring, skilled people for projects that you're getting into?
No, I mean, I think like December the 5th, my company will be 21 years old.
Awesome.
Thank you. So when you've kind of been out here a long time, a lot of people know of you. And I have a wait list of people waiting to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it starts from building a great culture in your company.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why should they come work for you?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people are like, well, I'm paying this amount of money. So.
But the people hate to come to work.
Right, yeah, well, and the thing is, it's like people want to be part of something, especially the younger people. It's like, what are you doing this for? Everything is not about the money.
Mm-hmm.
How are you treated when they come and work for you?
Right.
Are they valued? Do you value their family time? Do you value, their personal growth?
Mm-hmm.
Do you value their mental health? Is it stressful working for you?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's a female approach. I think it's more of a, just having human empathy for other people. And I remember a contractor, one of his guys fainted on the job and he hit his head and stuff. And, you have to go through all the OSHA forms and everything. And he fainted because he hadn't eaten.
Hmm.
And he was like, well, I paid him enough money to buy food. That don't have anything to do with it. And I think that's where people have a disconnect. And even today, I had a call yesterday, someone was complaining that they were paying someone to do a job. It was an independent contractor, like a freelance job. And the young lady told them that they didn't have gas money to get there. And it's like, so now you want me to give you gas money? Some lady's like, I got to pay gas money too. And it's like, if you want them to get there. So I think we need to take more of an approach on finding out what the needs of the people that are coming to work for us are. And I always have free, I feed my people. I pay. I feed. I mean, what I'm saying? I did that through an example from a woman. It was a concrete contractor when I was an apprentice coming up. And when you're doing concrete, you can't stop.
Mm-hmm.
It's a food, so they can't stop. They go somewhere, take lunch or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so her husband owned the company, Mr. and Mrs. Brown owned the company, and she would be setting up food when it's time for them to eat, and they would either be to a certain point or certain people would stop and go eat, and then other people would come and take over because that process has to continue when you're pouring concrete. And I saw that example at that And of course, they needed them to keep working and needed to support them. But you have to support your workers any way you can to help them be fully there to do the job. And that's what I do. It's like, I have free snacks. You know, I pay them through their lunchtime.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I want them to know that I need you here.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know what's going on in people's personal life and their situation. So I try to eliminate any of the barriers that could come into play. If someone lost a car, don't have a car, something going on, we make sure that somebody comes through that's on that side, pick them up in the work truck, bring them to work. It's like sometimes we have to help people through their hard times. And I'm going to tell you, they do not forget it. You might have one, two, not appreciate, but a lot of the times, people like, they show up if they know that you're showing up to support them. And so what I told the lady on yesterday is, well, if you know she's an independent contractor, why didn't you offer paying 10 or 20% of the cost to help her get to work?
Mm-hmm.
Fine. I said, when we do service work, we charge a trip charge. Part of that trip charge is for fuel and for the truck, the truck. And I said, you could have, offered 10, 20% of the money she was already being paid to give her opportunity, to get some gas to show up. Right now, gas prices are extremely high. A lot of people say, oh, all these jobs are available. People, first they were blaming on people being on unemployment. Now they're saying people are lazy. But to be honest, people are not making enough to show up to work because the gas prices are so high. So as business owners, if you care about your business, you need to figure out what you need to do to help support people in showing up to your job, your place of business.
Oh, I love that. If you care about your business, you got to care about your people.
Yeah.
And
you got to help them through to figure out, even if we're in Atlanta, so you can buy, I don't know, I think a MARTA card it used to be $80 or so, but I don't know how much it is now, but I'm sure it's not much more. It's like you can buy them a monthly MARTA card where they can ride as many times they want to.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it's like, it ain't my business what they do. They can use it doing other stuff, but you want them to know, I'm going to help you get here.
Mm-hmm. But
then I need 100% from you.
Right.
So that's what I try. That's what I try to do. And I think other people, especially in this labor shortage, you need to understand if you're not paying a livable wage, especially, that you're going to have to support them in transportation, and possibly if they're, I think most restaurants do it, where they can eat free while they're there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've always shared that business is not about money.
Mm-hmm.
Business is about people. It's about relationship. It's about taking care of each other. It's about helping somebody. And if you do that well, then the money will take care of itself. So I think what you shared is a very good example of that there, in terms of having empathy for your people, looking out for the best interests, supporting them when it may be something as simple as getting them on a bus to get to work, or giving them gas money to show up. Some of those things there goes a long way. And if they know that you're a big fan of them, they're going to be a big fan of yours. So
they'll give you 110%. When you put the people first, they will definitely give you 110%. I've seen that on some of the projects that I've worked on. And one of my taglines is that I put people first, because when you're managing projects and going into these organizations, a lot of times you hear about what the individuals are going through. And I don't make my projects just about the schedules, the scope, the time, and all that thing. There are people behind this. And so once you build that rapport with the individuals on the team, I'm telling you, they'll go above and beyond on those projects when they're treated right.
And don't reduce people because of their situation.
Exactly.
I was in line one day and a woman used a couple of cards and they kept being declined. And so I told the lady behind me, I'm gonna pay for hers. And the lady was like, no, you don't have to do that. I'm gonna go back. Now let me tell you, today is you, tomorrow it could be me.
Exactly.
We need to understand that we're one, you can be one check away, one incident away, one day away from being in that same situation.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship is a roller coaster.
Yes.
We're gonna have several up and downs. And now with the way I type, well, like especially before the infrastructure bill was come, the analogy I use is like we're like surfers. And you'll see surfers out there in the water on their board, waiting on that next wave. Mm-hmm. You out there, but if you back there on the beach, sitting in a chair with the umbrella in your drink, you ain't gonna catch that wave. You out here in the water to ride that next wave. That means your surfboard got to be in condition and you got to be in good condition.
Yeah, that's very true. If you see the wave coming and you're trying to run from the beach to the water, it's too late.
Yeah.
You got to be out here. And some of my football playing, you can't make no plays on the sidelines or in the stand.
Right.
You got to be on the field. And that's what I try. I stay on the field until I make a play. I don't come in. So some people are like, you always are working. And this is what it takes. And I don't believe in no sleep because I think that's part of.
You and Abe have that in common.
Yeah, I think that's part. It's just that everybody don't need the same amount of sleep.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm up at 4:00 every morning. And they're like, well, what you doing? I'm working. My mind get the moving. That's when my body say, hey, let's go.
Yeah.
Like at 9 p.m., you ain't getting nothing out of me. It's over. You're gonna have to wait till the next day. So you learning what you need, because after the Great Recession in 2009, I had to go into therapy. And I went to the Anxiety and Stress Management Institute here off of Windy Hill up in Atlanta. And because I had lost my gauge on doing too much. And so during that time, I had never been through a recession. I didn't know some of it I took personal, like, oh, well, maybe if I'd have done this, if I'd have done that. And to be honest, it was any of us could do.
Right.
But it was that period of free falling. And I started having anxiety attacks. And that feeling of being out of control. And I remember going to my first therapy session there. And she said, well, all those people with the degrees from MIT, Stanford, and Harvard on Wall Street, if they haven't figured out, what made you think you were going to figure it out? Because some problems are on a level that you don't even understand.
Right.
And you need to know that in that time, you hurt yourself when you're trying to brace yourself. Like when they say drunk drivers, they never get hurt mostly.
Right.
You're not bracing themselves. So I had to learn how to free fall and also organize and do what I can do and be okay with that. So, that whole, just going through, just like stress is real and it will kill you.
It will.
And I remember going to my first visit and I saw these people with Chanel bags and this and that. And I was like, oh, I got rich people problems. It's like I ain't never had these kind of problems where I'm losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. So maybe they're going to tell me how to cope during this time of losing all this money. Like, no, she had to help me go through the different traumas I've had in my life, because certain things will trigger you and you don't even know this.
Yeah.
But on that road to success, and the higher you get, when you're not used to, I guess, operating at a certain altitude, everything comes from within you to like, wait a minute, what we doing? You that feeling, and it's like I had to get used. So this time, come through a pandemic, child, I was on easy street.
Yeah.
But I knew this is something we could not control.
Right.
But I spent that time reorganizing, and also because I had built great relationships, I was able to survive it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, and it's so fun, people, it's not really funny, but when you see people trying to build relationships in the middle of a storm, that ain't fun.
Right. Yeah.
That's not the time. And when you're in, you can't get offended when people won't help you during those times in a pandemic or economic recession, because they're trying to do what they need
themselves, or they probably may not be able to help themselves. They might be the same.
I would tell this guy's child, I ain't got time to teach you, told you to trip over you. We moving. It's like, you need to know we're at a pace where we're moving, and I'm in construction is very aggressive. So you don't have time to be, oh, well, let me explain to you. It's like, when we get through this, I'll help you. But right now, it gets that real.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people be offended. Well, you ain't have time to talk to me or help me. It's like, no, it's time. Now you got to get back until we got to get out the way until things stabilize.
Right. Yeah, I think back to, I just went to Austin and coming back to Atlanta. And when the pilot or the stewardess says, if there's a turbulence on the plane, you put the mask on yourself first.
Yes.
Before you do anything else.
Right.
And that's what you have to do during turbulent time. You have to say, you know what, let me get my bearings together. Let me, a tsunami just came, wiped out the whole, banking industry, the real estate industry, construction industry, so many industry, financial industries, all of those industry was tremendously impacted during the Great Recession. And you're right, you're just a small little fish in the ocean, and you're just glad to still be like, the wave just came over you. You're just trying to let me get my bearings here. And I appreciate you just being real, because that's life,
Transparency. Yes.
Oh yeah, because I want people to know, and I thought stress management meant that they were going to help me figure out how to stop my panic attacks and get myself together. It did not mean any of that. It actually means to teach you how to live your life in a way that you don't get stressed. And so I only can deal with like 5 issues a day. I have a certain time I have to stop. I have to do breathing exercises during certain times of the day. It's certain things that I took from that helped me thrive during this pandemic. It's like, you have to know when you get to the multi-million dollar contract level, you think the air is thin. It's not thin. It's just it's unfamiliar territory. And so anytime that you add a level, you go, or you add a child to the family, or anytime you add anything to your plate, there's a period of reorganization.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes we don't take into account, like, oh no, there's just something added. But no, anything you add to your plate as a leader, you have to reorganize, and you have to help the people around you adjust to this new level, just to this new thing that we're going through, like a pandemic. So that to me was an extra time to tell people, like, I didn't put a lot of pressure on my people. It's like, they were trying to get us working Grady, because I'm a contractor in Grady, working different. Yeah, my people weren't comfortable working inside the medical. And I was like, okay, well, we won't do that. We'll do something over here. Yeah, and so it's like listening to your team for feedback on what their comfort level is. Because just because we're in need of money or contracts or something, because we work on critical situations, like where you could die, you know, like I don't want them to feel uneasy about other things. I need them to be their whole head in the game.
Yeah, that's great. I really appreciate you sharing that. I want to take you back a little bit to, you said you start off as an apprentice. I want you to take all the way back to when the day you decide, you know what, I'm going to start my own business. And tell me about that journey, how you got to become an electrical contractor. And I think they need to change it to ISEW, the International Sisterhood of Electrical.
Like when people say, you're a journeywoman, you're not a journeyman. No, you're still a journeyman. They don't have no pronouns for us, okay? So we're still in here as the brotherhood. So, but I started my business at 28 years old. But I kind of had this habit, even from being an apprentice. I kind of told everybody what to do. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I try to joke sometimes that that's a Black woman thing. We just we can run it. If we can run it, we running it. Yeah. And so I've just always had maybe a skill on identifying talent and identifying what people do well and putting them in those positions to do well. You know, if you don't run conduit well, I'm not gonna put you on conduit. And so I would tell now me, I'm the only girl on the job. I've been on projects where out of 800 electricians, I'm the only woman, and I run around telling everybody what we do. I was like, Bob, you need to get over there and you do that with John, and then me and such stuff, we gonna be over here. Now, I wasn't in charge, but then the formula makes sense. And that's what I tell people when they say, well, men don't, I tell women when they say, men don't listen. No, if you have if you're knowledgeable and you, of course, kind of applaud them on what they do well, they'll run all day. They're like, let's do it. Because people naturally want to be accomplished. And so I was on a job site, and this guy comes over, and he works for the general contractor. He said, well, if you're going to tell everybody what to do, you might as well own your own business. I was like, you know what? You're right about that. So at lunchtime, I told the guys, I was like, Charles said I should own my own business. They laughed. When I tell you, they laughed and laughed, and they were like, well, the only reason you're gonna get any business is because you're Black and you're a woman. It's like, So I went over to my foreman. I was like, well, today is my last day because I'm gonna start my own business. I'm gonna start my own business. And he was like, yeah. I said, yeah, so send my check to the house because I won't be coming back. But I'm a union electrician, so it's not like I didn't have a safety net because I have my union ticket. So as long as you got your union ticket, I could go somewhere and work if I just needed some money or something. But I didn't. I actually decided I was gonna, I'm gonna find me some friends. I didn't know anything about networking, and I didn't know anything about owning a business. I said, I'm gonna find me some friends in business. And so I bought all my computer little stuff. I had a gateway computer. That was like at the beginning of, I had a gateway. You could tell me that I lived in an apartment. And then so I set up my sunroom for my business. I had all my little cart. And even at, I think it was Staples at the time, I got me some cards, and I found one of those little figures with a woman with a light bulb. I was like, oh, this is me. So I had that on my little business card. Then I said, well, where am I gonna find some friends? And I was watching Good Morning Atlanta or something one morning, and the Women's Chamber of Commerce was having they were installing their members. Mm-hmm. And so I went. I didn't have a ticket. I didn't know how to register or nothing. So I showed up and I asked the lady, I said, well, I don't have a ticket. It was in Buckhead. I didn't even know what Buckhead meant because I hadn't been in Atlanta but a couple of years. And I really didn't understand that was like the wealthy area or anything. And she said, well, we got some room at the head table. I was like, okay. So she let me come up, and that's how I met Jane Fonda and a bunch of people. And when I tell you, them women drugged me all around Buckhead, making their husbands hire me and use me. And that's how I built my business from other women in business. And it was so funny. Like, it was like, oh no, just go down there. I told my husband they're going to use you. And I'm like, really? I'm like, and my first international client at the time was the consulate for Canada. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, we have some things at the house that, they pay for me to live, and I want you to come. And so we fixed a lot of electrical stuff at the house. And I was like, wow, I'm international now. I got international clients. And so I just kept building my business from relationships. I got my office in Buckhead, and I just never even thought about, I'm launching a business in the most expensive place in Atlanta at the time, because, it wasn't no Pond City Market or nothing. Right. And, but yeah, being part of the Buckhead Business Association and being a member of the Buckhead Club, and that's how I learned. And when you start your business and you're networking with the wealthiest people, they teach you to have an accountant, a tax advisor, and all. So I had my business, and my foundation of my business was solid because of the people I was networking with. They taught me what to do. They taught me how to hire and pay my sons through my business, because children under the age of 18 did not pay FICA. So instead, he was like, no, you don't give them allowance. You pay them by check. You give them responsibilities in the business, and you pay them that way. And that's how, because my oldest son was 6 at the time when I started my business, and that's what I did. And they taught me how to network and how to go to the right holiday parties and be part of this and part of that. And I have to be honest, that's how I started my company. So I started networking with the president of Georgia Power at the Buckhead Business Association meeting.
Awesome. And that goes back to one of the tips that I shared from the webinar, was to network and, network with the right people that can help you move forward. So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we don't know who's going to be our advocate and who's going to be our mentors in life. And what you did was you took a step of faith, attended this event that you have no ticket to, and then you showed up. And sometimes you just need to show up, right? When you show up, good things happen. And that's how you got your business started. So that's very encouraging. And I tell people that, hey, part of business and life is just showing up and going to places and networking, and you don't know who is right next to you. So that's a very good example of just showing up there. So.
And I tell people all the time, because they ask me, how did you get past the fear? Or how did you get, and I grew up in a fairly rough environment, because I came from a poor area. So, I don't, sometimes I think, I'm like, well, they don't know what real fear is. But I say that often that I was brave enough to go and hungry enough to stay. Mm-hmm. So when you're brave enough to go and hungry enough to stay, you don't have the same type of fear. The fear doesn't play the same part. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but what I want and what I'm doing, it's so much bigger than the fear. My personal goal is to hold this space to help other people that look like me enter this space.
Mm-hmm.
That's women, that's minorities, and that's so much bigger than being afraid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you share with us a little bit how you got started. Now tell us about your biggest contract ever since you've been in business, you know.
I think, my biggest contract was 4.2 million, I think 4.2 million. And then, they add on to it, but from the initial contract. And for my industry, that's fairly large.
Absolutely, yeah.
For my being an electrical contractor, because usually to be a prime, you need to bond for 5 million or more.
Mm.
And my white male counterparts, they're doing like $30-50 million a year easily. And that's outside of the federal space. And in the federal space, I don't do contracts the way people normally do contracts. I do service work in the federal space.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows not everybody knows, but a lot of people know that officers and just different people in the that are maintaining the buildings, they have a government credit card. And under the Trump administration, it increased greatly. It increased to like $24,000 or so. But
I think it's $25,000 for credit cards.
25,000, yeah. And so when you're doing service work, that's like instant money. They pay you right then. Mm-hmm. So that's what I choose to do versus the longer drawn out contracts, because I'm already in that fight in the private sector. Mm-hmm. To where, it takes a long time to get paid. So it's like the service work is easy. You just do it. You show up, you do it. Like right now, we have several projects with the Park Service. I just priced a job, I think like last month for the EPA. So in Atlanta, there's a lot of federal buildings. Mm-hmm. A lot of offices are located here. And so, that's like, I don't want to say easy money, but kind of, sort of, so just to do that quick service work, that has served me well in the federal space. I have not gotten my 8A because I didn't want to use up those years for nothing. I tell people it's really, really hard as a small business to operate in several sectors. Mm-hmm. That's the private work, that's local work, because I do a lot of work with the city of Atlanta. So there's local work, and then there's state work, and then there's federal work. When it comes to federal contracting, I think it'll serve you better to have a division dedicated to it. Mm-hmm. And I haven't decided to build a division dedicated to it. I was like, I'll do that when I get like, I don't want to say older, but that's how I feel. I'm 49 now. And just being in the private space, working in under utility companies, working in renewable energy, it's like the federal space is like its own. Federal is like its own world. Mm-hmm. And there's so many opportunities in the federal space, but mostly, especially small minority companies, when they go federal, they stay just federal. Mm-hmm. And so I'll be looking to expand, and I guess in the next few years or so. But there's so much opportunity for me outside that space that I feel that I have more of an impact on. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, and I like uncharted territory, if mm-hmm. that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the state and local government a little bit, because often we hear a lot about the federal market, but we need to, small business, they can do work at the city level, county level, the state level, and the federal. But what has your experiences been in getting work at the state, local level, and so forth?
Well, to be honest, it's all political. I mean, now I've survived for the first 16 years of my business as a second and third tier contractor, because you can make a lot of money as a second or third tier. And I don't think anyone should be ashamed to stay at that level. But you also limit your growth. When you do a second, third year contractor, a third tier, there's a lot of stuff you don't have to worry about. When you don't have to deal directly with the owner, it's a lot of stuff. I don't want to say you can get away with. It's just certain things you just don't have to do. It's less meetings you have to go to. Things are already figured out by the time you make it to you. So you can save a lot in your overhead and management, being second and third tier. But once you become a prime contractor, that's what separates, they say, the men from the boys. Because you really have to show up for the owner, being the city or being the state. There's a lot of, I don't want to say hand holding, but it's like you have to help the owner understand. You have to manage a lot of expectations in a construction on a project. And even being there as a subprime, along with the GC or the architects or the engineers, you carry more weight. Now you do make a lot more money, so you're compensated for the weight that you're holding, but it's a lot more responsibility. And I remember being in my first prime position for the city of Atlanta, and I was just sitting in the initial meeting. And so when they announced me and all my company name, it's like, you better sit up like you in charge. I was saying, you driving this ship. I'm used to being in one of the departments of the ship. But once you driving that ship, you have to know who everyone is. You have to, when I say everyone, is not just on the project. Of course, even if you're on a project, you need to know who everyone is. But you need to know who the players are with the owners. And you have to get an understanding of what each department that works for the owners need. Like procurement needs something different than facilities.
Right.
They don't even speak the same language. They on the same team, don't even be talking to each other.
Right.
So you got to facilitate conversations between IT, facilities, the project team, the people that are going to be living in the space, working inside that space that you're building. And then you got to answer to procurement, because the numbers got to be right. And then sometimes when something go on, you got to answer to legal. It's like, it's so many departments that you got to deal with. And some people like, I don't want to deal with all that, but I don't know. I love it. I love helping to, I guess, educate, so to speak, sometimes the owners about the process. I love helping to manage those expectations. And, I love to bridge that gap of communication between IT and the other departments. Because now every job is a tech-enabled job. Every project is a tech-enabled. So when people say, in the age of technology, where are you? We write, as electricians, we write in the middle of it. We write in the thick of it. Because how about ain't none of y'all got gonna work without us.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so we write, and we're right in the middle of this new age and concern about energy and sustainability. Helping people with process efficiency and energy efficiency. Companies, municipalities, any government agency that is not participating in sustainability and process efficiency, or energy efficiency will lose.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we right here in the thick of it. So I'm, every day I feel like I'm having the time of my life. It's just different players every day. But I love to help get people on board or where they need to be in order to get results for what they're trying to do. So, I don't want to go on that, but I just love it. So from the state level, I would tell any contractors, familiarize yourself with the way your client does business. And the person that you are answering to inside of this organization, find out ways to help them be successful. How can you help their job be easier? What information can you give them to help them after you've left? People remember stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want to do. You don't just show up, you don't want to just win the lowest bid. Right. Do your part and then leave unless you don't plan on growing.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like you said, I hate when people say, this is business, it's not personal. Well, it's people on the other end of that business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it's all personal.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way you treat people, their experience with you. And you want to be as transparent and as direct as you can. I think the pandemic has revealed a lot of people. It has revealed because people don't want you, ain't nobody got time to be hearing you say something that sounds good. People need results and they need help. They need help to get their projects completed.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. And one more thing I want to say, when people take a chance on you, they're putting their job and their reputation on the line. You need to honor those people by showing up and doing what you say you're supposed to do, but also showing up even when you can't, or even when something happens. You want to be the first to let them know, this is where I dropped the ball, or this is the situation that happened, and this is what I'm going to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no project that goes without a problem.
Exactly.
Not one. I don't care how big the company is.
Right.
I don't care how experienced they are. Everybody makes mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has failures if you're working.
Right.
So I would say be as transparent as you can, be as direct as you can, and communicate. And documentation is the best communication.
Absolutely.
With everything that you do, make sure you document what was done, what was said, and what you need to do to move forward.
Right.
How it's important. Everybody's going to fall. It's important how you recover.
Very good lessons there.
Yeah.
All right. So you've shared some really good nuggets here.
I'm sorry. I don't even know if I'm off script or what I'm supposed to be talking about.
No, we don't have a script. That's the thing. There is no script. This is great.
Yeah, you're just sharing your experiences because people need to learn from that. We all learn from each other, and you talked about how other people have poured into you. This is a little bit of you sharing with other people, and you're indirectly pouring to so many other people who's watching this here. So thank you for being part of this podcast.
And I also have one thing that I wanted to share from a government contracting point of view. Mm-hmm. I had a contracting officer contact me a couple of years ago about a project down on a base by Augusta. Mm-hmm. And it was like $1 million contract, a maintenance contract. And the response time was 4 hours. And I told him, I said, we can't do 4 hours. We're in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. He said, well, what if I moved it to a day? And I said, well, let me think about it. And I realized I didn't want to put my people under that amount of pressure, because you need to make your response times. Mm-hmm. And so I found a contractor that had done that type of work. It was on an electronic filing system and had done those repairs before. And I connected him with the contracting officer. And the guy he said, are you sure you're going to just pass up this contract? You sure you don't want to do it? I said, well, yeah, I'm sure you're closer. You'll be able to serve them better. And he said, what goes around comes around. And, you know, I had never heard that, not in a bad way, you know. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and he said, no, he said, because you did this for me, something's amazing is going to happen for you. Mm. He said, we really needed this work. Mm. And then the contracting officer said, so you can't do the work and you went and found somebody for me so I don't have to look for nobody. Mm-hmm. I said, yes, sir. They have all the certifications. They're in the system. I sent him everything. He said, anything you need on this base, you let me know.
There you go.
And those are the type of relationships that you want. Mm-hmm. You want to go the extra mile for people when you can't do something. Can you hear me? Oh,
yes, Lord. We can hear you.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So you want to go the extra mile for your contacts or for people that reached out to you and people that are trying to offer you opportunity. It's nothing wrong with passing something up. Mm-hmm. I don't do anything that's going to compromise the quality of my service. So if I can't get to you in the amount of time, the response time that's set, I will pass that on to someone else. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, that's very real because, you know, sometimes we want to take everything, but sometimes giving is the best secret to success. Mm-hmm. And you made an impression on the contracting officer. You made an impression on that other company that you referred and connected those two there. And I love it, you know, that what goes around comes around because, you know, you're right. We always think of it from a negative perspective, yeah. but there is the positive side to that as well. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's right. Before we wrap up here, I want to talk a little bit about international business, and you've done a few things internationally. You know, part of my role, you know, I've done some international work with South Korea. We've taken some trade delegations, you know, businesses from the U.S. to expand their companies into the international market. But share with me a little bit about what you've done and your interest at the international market level.
Mm-hmm. Well, oh wow. Let me see. Let me give a short version. Because I've kind of done a lot. Let me see. Okay, so I guess I'll talk about how I got introduced to it. Well, in 2019, they have this summit called the Global Entrepreneur Summit. And the State Department paid for me to go to that summit to represent the United States for energy. Mm-hmm. And so being there with, I think it was around about 1,800 entrepreneurs from 200 different countries. And we were there to focus on the 5 top issues in the world, being energy, water, food, mobility, and connectivity. And so I don't know, it was one of those things where I was like, it just opened my mind. It expanded, you know, when your mind expands, it never goes back to its original state. And I remember before I left, I was on a construction at a general contractor's office. And he was one of the VPs. And I told him, I said, well, it was after work, you know, you have a beer, or they were having beer or whatever. And I like to hang out, you know, with the guys, see what they're talking about. And he said, oh, you're going to the state? The state is sending you there? He said, oh, tell Mike Pompeo we said hello. And they all laughed at me. And I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm gonna show them, you know. So I thought I was just going to get a picture of him while he was there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told one of my friends, Catherine, that was also there. And she's up in Boston, and she was at the same summit. And I said, Catherine, they were teasing me, and this is what I said, I got to get a close-up picture of him. And she said, okay. So during we were in The Hague, and they had the prime minister there and all these people. And so Mike Pompeo was there to, to welcome everyone, because the summit was between the Netherlands and the United States. Mm-hmm. And so, well, you know how you had the little rope where you can't go back. And mm-hmm. So she said, we gonna get a picture of him. I was like, okay, I was just like, okay. So it was like one of those moments. So she got over the rope. She said, Tanya, come on. And I was like, okay. I didn't even think we could have been in jail and everything. So I crossed the road. He was coming down, and he had this like really shocked, angry look on his face. He said, what are you doing? I said, we trying to get a picture with you. Hurry up before the Secret Service get us. He said, okay. And so I have this picture, and I can send it to y'all. I have this picture with us taking a picture with him. And in my mind, all I'm thinking, I can't wait to show them. I was, because they were, trying to, they were like, yeah, right, basically. They thought I wasn't telling the truth. And so that whole week, everybody's like, yeah, y'all y'all tackled the Secretary of State. But Mike Pompeo, he asked me, he said, what are you doing? I told him I was an electrical contractor. He said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to do renewable energy around the world. So he turns to his chief of staff. He said, get her what she needs. And then still I was like, yeah, he's just saying that. Well, I got everything I needed from that department. And they helped me foster my relationship with the Dutch. I currently work with the Dutch.
All right. Woo.
And it's something, he didn't ask me if I was a Democrat or not. He's just like, get her what she, and it's taking chances. Now, the next morning I woke up like, I could have went to jail. I'm all the way over here. It dawned on me then, but you got to take a chance. You got to take a chance. And the State Department put me in all type of relationships, and it was just amazing. It was just amazing. So
that's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
You were actually in the right place at the right time, even though you didn't feel like you were, but that's awesome.
And you know what? And it's also being with people that are willing to support you in taking a risk.
Yeah.
All I did was tell her how the guys were teasing me about me coming over, and they didn't believe I was here, sent by the State Department. And no, I did not know the Secretary of State, but I'm sure he remembers, because the State Department wasn't too happy with us because we broke protocol and all this stuff. And I did have a guy ask me, well, why did you take a picture with him? Because what was going on under Trump and all this stuff. And I told him, because it's your job to take pictures or to connect with the most powerful people in the room. I said, and he's the third most powerful man in the world, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we got our picture. We got our picture.
Well, I always tell people, I say, hey, as an entrepreneur, we don't think red and we don't think blue. We don't even think purple. We think green, right?
Green.
As entrepreneurs, we think green. We're and
to be honest, when you work and to be honest, when you're working in the with the federal government, a lot of them people have been there through 2-3 different presidents. It's like, these people, it's only a certain amount of people that change with every administration. Mm-hmm. Most of them people are there no matter who's in the office?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I think you should keep you enough friends on both sides of the aisle in the first place. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, it's like, and you should find opportunities for you to work with other people, regardless, of a party affiliation or religion. You should find opportunities for you to work together. So, yeah, I wasn't thinking about, but I was shocked, I have to admit, that that they did follow up on supporting me and helping me in my global expansion. And so, I'm glad he didn't yell at us or have the people arrest us. And it was like, we try to take pit. Now, I was shocked that I talked to him that way, spoke to him that way. But, it was in the heat of the moment. I was like, come on. I think it's just my personality, it's like, let's go. But yeah, so no, and I think the people that win, I want to talk about winning. The people that win in entrepreneurship or in their industry are people that are in love with the game. Mm-hmm. People that are in, you can be passionate about a lot of things, but you got to find that love for the game. It's a lot of times in women that they don't like negotiating. And I tell people, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. You have to find a way to find I got this from a naval commander. She's a commander of a Navy ship. She said, find your war rhythm. Mm-hmm. It's a rhythm to business. It's a rhythm to everything. So you got to kind of find that. I think some people call it a sweet spot. Mm-hmm. You got to find your way where you perform the best. And if you don't negotiate so well, if you're not good in sales, you got to work on it. Mm-hmm. It's okay to have your salespeople. It's okay to have people, but as the owner, you have to figure out how you're going to attract people to you. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not confident about you, I'm not going to be confident about you. Right. Your clients are not going to feel comfortable or confident in you handling their project or their contract. So if you're going to be an owner, it's like and it's a difference to me between being a business owner and being an entrepreneur. Business owners get into a business and they do that business well. Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurs look for opportunities to play in different spaces. We look for opportunities to do what hasn't been done. And so, you can have a mom and pop shop. I did for a long time. But when you seek to play a bigger game, you have to invest in your personal development, invest in your team, and invest in great branding and marketing for your company. You don't win no award for being cheap on stuff. Or, I got this for $9.99. You don't get no award for that. You need to be willing to invest what you need to invest in order to show up a certain way, but most importantly, in order to perform a certain way.
Well, yeah. Hey, those are like some really, really great, life experiences and some risks you took. Entrepreneurship is about taking risks. Being a business owner is about being a rainmaker for your company. So really good nuggets there. This last part here, I want to ask you this question. As a business owner, how do people reach you if they want to get in contact with you, either to team with you, subcontract with you, or be a prime and let you be a subcontractor? How do they get in contact with you?
You can through my website, and I guess you will, through my website, you can contact us through there. I'm on LinkedIn. at Tanya, linkedin.com / Tonya Hicks. And also I'm on Instagram. I love Instagram. So I've gotten a lot of opportunities through DM and also through, I'm at Tonya Hicks on Twitter. Yeah, I kind of started in the whole social media website game pretty early. People like, how did you get this? And how did you get that? And I also have a company called Women Do Everything, primarily because we do. But we train, support, and we help women get into male-dominated industries, the higher paying technical careers. And so, you can reach me through there if you want to get into a male-dominated industry. So that I think that's about it. Yeah, but just LinkedIn, you can inbox me. I'll get to you. I'm not saying I'm not quick, but within 24 to 48 hours, I always respond if it's social media.
All right. Well, hey, Tanya, thanks so much for being with us here on this Governese episode. Really love the experiences that you shared. It's going to help a lot of other companies out there. Any closing comments, any final tips, Tanya, you have for our audience here?
I guess my final thing I would say to all the entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, is don't allow your lows to get you too low or your highs to get you too high. You got to kind of stay right there in the middle, and to encourage people to just, sometimes you have to pace yourself. Progress is progress, fast or slow. And, not to be so hard on yourself if you're not where you want to be, or you think somebody's so much further than you. Just pace yourself. Just keep moving forward.
Well, that's a really good tip there. I'm going to borrow that for myself also. Right. So, Crystal, any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I want to thank Tanya again. I've been over here taking notes. I have like 2 pages of notes myself. So this was very informational. Thank you for being so transparent and sharing a lot of the things that, people are not comfortable with addressing or touching on. And as small business owners, we need to hear these types of things. So I really do appreciate that. And I want to, you have an open invitation to come back. If you think of something else that you want to share, hit me up, let me know, and we'll have you back on. This was great. I'm telling you,
this is gonna be one of the top podcasts in internet show. I'm telling you.
We received that. Thank you.
People need real information that they can take and run with. So I'm honored to be on here with y'all, and I didn't care what else I had going on. I had somebody trying to interview me for a magazine. I told Chuck, I got stuff, I got to be on this show.
Oh, thank you.
And I was like, you got to give me another day. And that's what, when you make a commitment to be people, show up. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, hey, with that said, I appreciate you being on here. And for all those our audience listener, thank you for showing up and watching this show here. Until next time, we're signing off from the Governese Webcast podcast here. Thanks for Tanya for joining us, and Crystal, my co-host. Love being here with you. And I'll see you on another episode. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, I want to take a minute to say thank you to our sponsors of the Governese channel here. And if you're watching this here, please visit our sponsors because they make it possible for us to do the Governese channel. Our first sponsor is the Government Contractors Association. The Government Contractors Association, or GCA, is a national trade association comprised of commercial contractors, small and large companies, and government agencies, federal agencies, state agencies, local agencies, government staff, universities, nonprofits, and many other entities out there. Their vision is to create access to help small businesses to get into the government market, to open doors for commercial companies into the government marketplace, and to support government agencies in accessing more qualified contractors. Their mission is to educate, facilitate, and advocate for their members based on becoming the premier government contractor association with their 3 pillars. Learn more about the Government Contractor Association at govassociation.org. 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 Our second sponsor is GovGenie. GovGenie, stop wishing, start winning. GovGenie is on a mission to democratize government contracting opportunities for small women and minority-owned businesses. Their objective is to change the disparities for small businesses in the $2 trillion government marketplace. GovGenie is like LinkedIn for government contractors. It is a social CRM unifying the fragmented government procurement lifecycle and uses AI and ML to help users to socialize, foster relationships, find bids, search for teaming partners, manage proposals, source industry events, and facilitate the capture management process. This saves you, the user, money and time with one streamlined platform versus many other disparate software out there. Learn more about GovGenie at govgenie.com. 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 And our third sponsor is the Boom Group. The Boom Group is a benefits organization. They do benefit solutions to fit your needs. The Boom Group provides fringe benefit solutions designed with the competitive government contractor in mind. They offer compliant healthcare benefits designed for contractors working under the Service Contract Act, or SCA, or Davis-Bacon Act, DBA, and state prevailing wage and local living wage laws. The Boom Group builds better fringe benefit solutions for government contractors with our 3 C's approach to benefits: compliance, competitiveness, and cost savings. Learn more about the Boom Group at www.boomgroup.com or BOOGROUP.com. That's www.boomgroup.com.